Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tom White, President and CEO of Explore Evansville. So super excited to introduce our guest. It's the lifeblood of visitors and creating tourism to get people here to spend money. Our speaker is Nate Hahn. He's Executive Director of the Evansville-Vanderburg Airport Authority and has been with EVV since 2011 and served in this role since 2019. Nate is active in the community, serving on the Evansville Regional Economic Partnership and the Children's Museum Boards. Within the aviation sector, Nate is the current president of Aviation Indiana and holds a prestige AAE designation with the American Association of Airport Executives. Without further ado, Nate.
Hi, I'm Luna Jordan with Nova News Network, live on location at Evansville International Airport, where the energy is electric, the skies are buzzing, and the future has officially arrived. 2040 has been quite a milestone year for EVV, including the addition of its 8th airline, its 18th destination, and 15 consecutive years of record-breaking passenger growth, earning its place as one of the fastest-growing airports in the world. Joining me now is the airport's Executive Director, Nate Hahn, the leader who helped make it all happen. Nate, the vision we see today is remarkable. How did we get here?
It all goes back to 2025, a Rotary luncheon in mid-August. That was the day the conversation changed, the moment we asked the community to make a choice, to fly EVV first. And they did. I remember standing in that room. And I'm done. Okay. Really though, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here to talk about all the amazing things about EVV's past, its present, and hopefully its future. To know where we're going, you should probably look at where we came from. In 2010, we came out of the Great Recession, airline consolidation, the creation of TSA. Airports like ours looked very different. The reduction of hubs, the reduction of airlines in general, limited how many aircraft can come to communities in support of ours. We were down to about 350,000 passengers coming through our terminal on that year. And that's significant, but our community envisioned something better, something bigger and bolder, and what could we do? In 2011, our board went through a strategic plan and envisioned what could EVV look like if it was bigger and better, and let's take care of passengers and let's add more air service, and it set us on the path that led us to where we're at today. In 2012, we purchased 4 new jet bridges, with the 5th showing up in 2016. And while yes, this is a modern amenity that everyone would expect, this is something that Evansville didn't have, and we're glad to have that as a passenger experience for all of our passengers. In 2014, we relocated our main runway, a $65 million project that finished on time, but actually even a year early. This opened up, yes, it took care of us from a safety standpoint, from an FAA compliance standpoint, but also opened us up to more development. And our main terminal. Those of you that fly out know that it was a little drab and needed updates. In 2017 and 18, we made those improvements. On the exterior, we removed steps and had better walkways. We had new canopies and walking paths to really improve the walkability of the terminal and keep people in better weather, out of the weather and bad inclement weather. And then inside the building, with our linchpin item of the new security checkpoint, which had a dedicated pre-check, a new central lane, and then with the forethought to actually plan a whole new 3rd lane as well. Once through security, we had added more amenities, a pet relief area for those traveling with their pets or service animals, a nursing room for mothers, so if you need a little peace and quiet, you have space now to get away from the hustle and bustle of the terminal. And a kids' play area, which anyone who's traveled with kids loves this space because your kids are burning energy. And if you're on that plane too, you're happy they burn energy as well. But we asked if we could do more. What more could we do? And passengers routinely asked us, we'd love to have covered parking, but we can do better than covered parking. And so we built a new covered lot Over our existing lot and over our rental car lot, it produced 1.3 megawatts of energy. This is significant for the airport and supplies 50% of the terminal's power. This is dramatic and was the largest of its time when it was initially built. Overall, over the last 15 years, we've spent $175 million in construction projects in our region. We're very proud of that. We're bringing federal dollars, most of that is federal dollars, we're bringing here locally to support our construction community, equating to over 3,000 jobs. And we're very proud to be a supporter of that community. But we did more than just build infrastructure. We built demand. Starting with new Charlotte service. This gave us our third route for American. It added an East Coast connection for us and really expanded the offerings at EVV. But we added more. In 2016, we added Allegiant with our nonstop to Orlando Sanford. This is also great for our community. Why? Because it was a low-cost carrier. While yes, less than daily is not always ideal for business travelers, it does open it up for a quality of place for all of our community with a no-stop straight into Florida. And not to be, as they continued, Allegiant continued into Destin, adding another flight there. So we continue to work with our airlines to see that partnership. All in all, we went from 350,000 passengers in 2010 to almost 500,000 people coming to and from our airport. This is dramatic change, dramatic for our community, and we're very proud of that support. I think it's probably safe to say that 2020 did not go as expected. And we are still feeling the repercussions of that today. Airports across the country are still in recovery mode, and we are no different. But that didn't really stop us. We kept moving forward. 2019 was a record year for us, and in that year we knew that we needed to expand the parking lot. So we did that. Best time to do that is when people are traveling a little less. So we moved our entrance drive, expanded our parking by 200 spaces with planning for another additional 200 in the economy lot, an additional 100 in the covered lot, so we can continue to expand that space. Our maintenance facility was old and a little out of date. We were saddled with something that didn't meet the expectations of our community and our airport, didn't meet the expectations of what the FAA would deem as proper equipment. And while our team works diligently and they do an excellent job, they deserve better. You, the traveling public, deserve better as well. With that, we built a new 43,000 square foot facility. This allows us to, yes, maintain our current equipment in a better way, but also add additional equipment, get larger, more effective, more efficient equipment so we can continue to maintain the airfield and keep you, the traveling public, flying in any weather. We view EVV as the front door to our region. And it has two front doors. And yes, we talked about the amazing things we did with the main terminal, and we're very proud of that. But we really have two front doors. That second front door is our general aviation terminal, a new one. We coordinated with what was then Tri-State Aero and is now United Companies Air Center to build a new facility. Beautiful, modern, 10,000 square feet, over double the size of the previous one, to create a new experience. Open, modern, what you'd expect when you come to a progressive community that is ready for growth. Meeting spaces for board meetings, but also spaces for those companies that are flying in, want to conduct business, make a deal, and then get on their aircraft and fly home. We're now better prepared to handle you on site. And of course, taking care of our pilots. They're very important to us, and we make sure they're relaxed, because when everything we all want is a pilot that's relaxed when they're getting on the plane. All in all, create a first-class experience. This is an amazing attribute now for our community for years to come. Our annual economic impact is over $200 million. So we mentioned the construction, but just as an economic engine, we bring $200 million of economic impact annually to our region. We are that key driver for our community, like Tom mentioned. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a 50% increase in seats in our community. 50% in just a short amount of time. Well, yes, that's more frequency, and yes, those are larger aircraft, but that's also this, new destinations. Orlando International with Breeze opened in February of 2024, not to be outdone. Allegiant added their third destination to Tampa St. Pete just a few months later in June. And if you don't know this already, Chicago's back. Okay, there we are. This gets us back to our third hub with American, has continued to grow and been incredibly successful. And I think our business community, but also anyone who wants to travel north is a little happier that's returned. All in all, just this last year alone, we are up 25%. There we are, thank you. This is unheard of in the industry, and we're very proud of our community's support of those flights. As such, we want to give back to the community. So we launched our initiative called For Everyone. For Everyone is a grouping of items that are programs that we have to better handle and manage the public. Our first thing we launched was Hidden Disabilities Sunflower Program. This is a program, a training that our team has gone through. Airlines, TSA, and airport staff to better understand the needs of those with hidden disabilities, whether that be PTSD or autism. We now are better trained to help you manage during a stressful time. We brought in CAMSI kits. These are sensory tools, courtesy of Autism Evansville, to really help passengers that have autism that might just need a little more support. Our team now is better prepared and has these available for their needs. On our website, we made improvements to exactly how you navigate. So yes, making it easier, but also adding widgets for translation tools if English is not your native tongue, or also if you have dyslexia or need other adjustments, we can now do that through our website. And our lovable canines, EVV crew dogs, who are purely there for your enjoyment. Everyone loves dogs, and if you don't, that means you're a cat person. We can have that conversation later. But I love dogs. And quite honestly, they're there for head pets, they're there for belly scratches, and just to relax you before you board a flight. As we look to the future of 2040 and beyond, we continue to look for new ways of taking care of our passengers. For Everyone was just the beginning, and we'll continue to have successes. We are working with a company called Good Maps. They're an AI navigational tool that helps those that have visual impairments navigate around a terminal building. So we think that this will help, yes, them, but also those of us that may be a little navigationally challenged. Along with that, those that are hearing impaired, visual paging is something we're continuing to work towards. This will help anyone who has hearing impairments and those of you that travel with your AirPods in all the time. I see you, we know you are there. And we look to open the door to new possibilities. While our new general aviation terminal is wonderful, and it is a beautiful front door, we envision a time in the future where it could be more. What could be our front door to the world? And if and when our community is ready, we're going to be ready to open that front door and open EVV and the region to the world. We believe the general aviation terminal and the new hangar, courtesy of United Companies Air Center, really will serve as linchpins for future development. New ramps, new roadways to improve our access both onto Highway 41 and to St. George to remove those left-hand dangerous turns out of the west ramp. We think this is, yes, great for the safety and great for the public, but it also opens us up for more development, whether that be new hangars in corporate or cargo or aviation businesses. We want to make sure the aviation community knows that we are open for business. And yes, our new terminal in 2040 will be 50 years old. And no, it probably won't look like this. It won't be 7 stories. I'm fairly confident there. But I want you to know that our team is going to continually work diligently to make sure we're maintaining what you expect out of a modern airport. And how do we get there? Well, it starts with you. It starts with this. One person telling someone else that if you want to be part of this, you need to be an active member. When an airline looks at where you're traveling, what they're paying attention to is where you're traveling to and from. The demand is what dictates everything about an airline. When they see you or they observe you picking a different airport, someone else, that's where they're going to put their investment. Every time you purchase a ticket, you're voting for what airline and what airport you want to see grow and grow and grow and grow. Our area has over 900,000 people that fly every year. Mind you, I just mentioned earlier, 500,000 passengers is a record for EVV. A 25-year record was 500,000 passengers. What does 900,000 look like? Just envision that for a second. Think of the new flights, the new destinations. Think of all the opportunities that will exist if we can just capture a little more of that. It's pretty simple. It can't be lip service. You actually have to be dedicated. You can't just say, oh yeah, we should all do it, and then not actually do it. This is not a chicken or an egg conversation. Let me be very clear. If you want to see EVV grow, if you want more flights, you want more destinations, if you want more, you have to convince the airline to get your money. They have to come here to get it. It's really just that simple. So what does that look like? Well, if we could improve our market share by 10%, that's 3 new planes. That's filling up 3 new aircraft daily. At 20%, we're talking 5 new aircraft. And at 5 new flights, I'm convinced we'll pick up another destination or 2 or 3. And those of you that are good at math have figured out at 30%, we're now at 7 aircraft. That is transformational for our region. Think of all the opportunities that exist. And they're not just, yes, quality of place, and we all love travel, but there's an economic benefit to it. $13 million each aircraft. Each daily aircraft brings $13 million back to our community. We have to do it together, and we can. And if you want to be a part of it, if you want to help mold EVV, if you want to envision what 2040 could look like, it's really simple. When you think of flying EVV first. Thank you.
And today, in the year 2040, we stand in that future, the one they imagined and made real.
The future isn't set in stone. It never was. Today could have looked very different. But in 2025, this community made a choice. They chose to fly EVV first. They chose a bold regional future. And when they did, they didn't just support an airport, they championed their airport and helped build the one we're standing in today.
A powerful reminder that the future doesn't just happen. It's built by the choices we make and the communities that choose to invest in their own growth. What began in 2025 helped shape the EVV we know today, and the story is still being written. Signing off from Evansville International Airport, I'm Luna Jordan, Nova News Network.
We have time for questions. I will come around and bring the microphone to you. Just raise your hand.
So, thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for thinking I'm going to have still that much hair. I appreciate all of those things. It is my favorite thing. I will answer literally any question to the best of my ability. But someone's going to ask the standard question, so I will get a couple of those out of the way. So first, what can you do to help out? So yes, if you heard Fly EVV first, that's the key. We have little in the back corner here under the bright light. There's pledge cards. If you'd like to sign those, put those, we can add you to our mailing list. Please grab the props, take some pictures, post to social media to remind people why flying EVV first is important. Second, someone should ask, and if you don't, I'm going to beat you to it. Someone's going to ask me, well, what about Detroit? Why is that not back? Well, there's lots of reasons. The simple part is the fact that Delta has changed how they operate. Went from 50-seat regional jets to 76-seat regional jets out of Detroit. It is something we're continually work with the airlines on, and we meet with them 2, 3, and 4 times a year, and that conversation continues. We're happy to see what they've done with Atlanta, where it's gone to 3 and sometimes even 4 flights. We need to be successful there before we expand back into Detroit. So know that it is out there, know that it is on our radar, and know that the team at EVV is working very hard to get that service back. But as I mentioned, it takes you. Okay. Questions?
Hi, Nate. You mentioned, I think, $175 million in investment in the airport. Could you tell us approximately what percentage is federal and what percentage is state?
Yeah, so for all of our federal grants, 90% of that is federal funds. So when we get a grant from the federal government, 90% of that comes straight from the feds through the Airport Improvement Program. We can generally get about 2.5 to 3.5, sometimes as high as 5 from the state. That varies based off the state budget. We're also been able to use some other funds. We have a passenger facility charge, which is what funded the boarding bridges, and we have some other mechanisms there. But no, the key part is 90% of those funds are really coming from the federal level, which is why we're proud to bring as much of that to the local economy as we can. Thank you.
I love the Breeze and Allegiant flights in and out. What are the chances of them maybe getting at least a little bit closer to daily flights, or are there other airlines out there similar that can get us to other places?
Yeah, so through the summer, this past summer, you had 9 opportunities every week to get to Florida. So between Breeze, Allegiant expands their service in the summer with more frequency, and then again, the new services. So we continue to work with them on what does that look like, right? So is it going from 2 a week to 3 a week, 3 a week to 4 a week, or does it make more sense to have another connection? So a lot of people, if you watch our Facebook page, people comment about, oh, another Florida. It's because you all travel to Florida like that. It's really, again, you're in control here. And so we've talked about like the southwest coast of Florida. There's a higher probability you get frequency to there than it is necessarily you'd see more frequency to those destinations. But ultimately it comes down to filling up aircraft, right? So if you're filling up aircraft 90%, 95%, you're gonna get more traffic. They're gonna send you more planes to try to continue to grow that market. So it's something we continue to talk about. And so that's the other thing, it's probably worth mentioning. Like we talk about airport growth and air service growth. A lot of people assume that just means a new destination. We need to celebrate when it's a new frequency, right? We need to celebrate when it's a larger aircraft. So for example, Chicago came back last October. This summer they upgraded to a larger aircraft. That's wonderful for our community. It adds first class options. Like it does make a better travel experience. But now we have to fill up 76 seats, not 50, right? So the economics of it have now changed. And so we need to make sure that our community is well aware that that is always a factor for every airline. And like I mentioned with Delta and Detroit, like that's a significant factor for them is maybe we can fill up a 50-seater with 40 seats, and that's really economically viable. But filling up 40 seats in a 76-seat aircraft, the economics don't work as well for the airline. So we're constantly trying to work with airlines to better understand their needs and where their long-term strategic vision is going as well.
Hello, I'm Arvinita McDonald. Very nice and creative presentation, so thank you for that. Just a quick question, curious to know about any community partners or activities that the airport might do to support the local Evansville community.
Sure. So since you said thank you for the presentation, I'll give a couple quick shout outs. Anna is right here at the second table, was our interviewer. She did an excellent job, and so I'm very grateful for her. And in the back, not trying to get any credit, is Brian with Gray Loon. They do all the actual heavy lifting on all these things, and we're very grateful to have them as partners. As far as other partners, I mentioned all the stuff we've done with Kamsi Kits and Autism Evansville. We have a partnership with a bunch of other nonprofits that specialize in those type of things, right? So blind or if you have hearing impairments, those type of things. It even goes back to even when we did the original terminal remodel. If you notice as you're walking across, there's elevated walkways, and if you're driving, you think there's speed bumps. But that came from a conversation, those of you know Ben Trockman. He was out, and we were talking about if you're in a wheelchair, every time there's an incline or decline, like that's a problem. Like it's a potential that you could fall. And so at that time, we're like, oh, this is a fix, right? So we elevated all those, and yes, they do service speed bumps, so please keep your speed down. But like that was a partnership that just came about through those conversations. We also try to do what we can to give back to the community. So we're part of United Day's Day of Caring. We try to go out and be a part there. I encourage my team to serve on boards, to be more actively involved in the community. We're unique in the fact that federal laws around our money, we're more governed by federal laws than we are some of this local stuff. And so we can't donate in the same way that other groups and organizations can. So we try to find creative partnerships, whether that be through marketing campaigns, or we try to look for those type of things that we can do inside the community. And that's why I think for everyone, I think it's going to be just not successful on a, like, yes, we're helping people, but better integrate us into those organizations, I hope.
Hi, quick question for you. When you're doing your strategic planning, do you look for ways to woo people away from the competing airports, Nashville, Indy, St. Louis, Louisville? In other words, there might be people who live right on the fringe of our metropolitan area, or even closer, that live in Evansville, that may be choosing those other airports. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to answer that two different ways. So one, from a marketing standpoint, yes. So we view all the way up to like Jasper and that area, down to Madisonville, Mount Vernon, Illinois, Vincennes. Like, we have a radius that we actively market. We give presentations, probably not to quite this big of a crowd, but give presentations and talk to their economic development. You know, our conversation I have is, for example, I'm in Jasper, or even Henderson, right? Their economy is more tied to EVV than it is to those competitor airports, right? They won't notice a 20 passenger or a 50,000 passenger increase or decrease. We will, like, it's significant to us. So someone's telling that story. I think the other part is we try to offer the best routes. We work with our airline partners, so if something isn't quite working, like if you're not hitting the right, think of hubs, right? They're breathe in and out. If you don't hit the right breath, like you don't make your connections. And so we've adjusted those in the past, working with our airlines. So we try to do those type of things to be more strategic in how we're working. From a strategic planning standpoint, a lot of our strategic plans, we have 4 key pillars of our strategic plan, and it's improving employees, improving our overall operational efficiencies, it's developing property, and it's the key one that is, he's sitting at your table, or no, right next to your table, that said this is a great idea, and I fought him on it, and it was become a great national airport. And that has been our linchpin since then. And he's sitting there, he just gave me eyes. But he did that, and he had an idea, but we have really taken that on and said, what can we do that makes EVV special? I think the solar is a great example. I think the stuff we've done with EV Vantage is good. If you go back to the pandemic, we were the first airport to have a health certification to make sure we're cleaning it properly. Like, so we try to do all of those things that is just not things you'd expect at a regional airport. And those of you who've been in our community, I've been here since 2011. Shortly after I got here, Amos was at the zoo. And I had a conversation with him that he probably thought was a nothing statement. And his was, we can never be San Diego Zoo. But if we can take a piece of San Diego Zoo and bring it to Evansville, then that's a win. And I love that view. And that's the way I view EV. Like, we're not going to be O'Hare. We're not going to be Indy. Like that's who we are. But we can be the very best version of EVV. And so we use that as the beacon. Like, how are we nationally recognized? The solar got us play across the country. I've had calls from airports. I was on Yale or one of those podcasts talking about energy efficiency and what you can do. Like, we have gotten people's attention. We've won, kudos to Leslie, our marketing air service development director. She has won, 10 awards in the last 5 years. Like, we have done an excellent job of getting our name out there, and it makes it easier when you go talk to the airlines, right? So yes, it's about the people too, but when you go talk to the airlines and they come to you and say, what do you have going on in Evansville, right? Like, I just saw Breeze showed up, and well, then you have another right, a route with Allegiant. What is Evansville doing? Let's get more information. And that can start those conversations and make a big difference. And then it's getting that information out. There's been times where, in spite of our amazing marketing, there were people that came up to me 6 months after Chicago launched and said, hey, when do you ever get Chicago back? I'm like, well, then you have not been paying attention. Anyone that listens to NPR should know right now that we have Chicago service back. Like, that is a key. I hear it every morning on the drive into work. So yes, we're taking strategic initiatives. I think our marketing is reaching out to those outside areas. And then it's just making sure that our customer experience is everything that it could possibly be, from short walks to 5 minutes through security to whatever it may be. We're always looking for the next thing.
Hi, thanks, Nate. I just want to, I think it was last year when you were here, and I think it was so helpful to people because I had several comments on, we always fly out of EVV. We would never fly out, we would never drive somewhere. And I had a really bad experience last year taking a group, and they convinced me, Carol, this will be cheaper, you know, because you're taking 4 people, we need to drive somewhere, blah, blah. When I got back, it was not. And that didn't even count our time. And I think we forget that our time's worth something. But you had this great little chart that said how much it was, and if you drove to Nashville or Indy or wherever, then you add this on, then you add this time on.
Yep.
And it ended up that it's actually as or more affordable to fly from EVV than to fly from some of these other hubs.
I don't know if I can say it any better than that, but yes, thank you for preaching that to everybody. It's very much true. So yes, your time is valuable. Those of you that charge by the hour know exactly how much your time is worth. I'm looking at you, Schottmeyer. So there are, like, you understand those things, but also just, it's the hotel, right, the night before, or again, is it really worth, if you have kids, I have kids, I do not want to drive 2 hours back. But also, like, you're just driving your first connection. Like, everyone's like, oh, I want a direct flight. No, you just chose to drive 2 hours rather than fly for that 50-minute flight. And I think 50 minutes is less than 2 hours. Not to mention, like, getting through the security checkpoint. I don't know how long their line is. It's longer than ours. Like, arguably. Like, we had USI engineering students did a study once from the stoplight to get parked was 8 minutes, to get in the building was 8 minutes, to get through security was 8 minutes. I don't think there's any place else in the country where you're going to be like, I'm at the stoplight near the airport. I can be on my flight in 30 minutes. With that said, there's a baggage cutoff for the airline, so watch that. But in all reality, you can get there, like, you can get through security that quickly. You can board your flight that quickly. And so, yeah, your time is valuable. And the other thing, and in all honesty, we are a regional airport, and prices are volatile. And so I always give 2 stories on both ends of the spectrum. Once I had one of my best friends, his now wife, was flying to Chicago to visit a friend. She bought her ticket, it was like $250. He thought, oh, I'm going to join you, and his ticket was $850 just by waiting a few weeks. And so I'll tell you, okay, you have to be careful of those kind of things. And then I'm going to tell you the opposite version, which is my wife and I were flying out of the country. I am the airport guy, so I'm going to book the tickets, right? And I showed her, like, hey, it's we're flying to France, and it was $800. And she's like, well, Nate, we should wait. I'm like, no, this is a pretty good price for an international flight, Evansville. And then she's like, no, we should wait. And so, as a good husband, boyfriend at the time, I waited, and then it went $900, and then it went $1,200, then it went $1,400, and at $1,600, I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And this is where I tell you, my wife is right, and we bought our tickets for like $600. So the opposite is true too, right? I mean, you'll see that volatility because the world we live in today, airlines are watching how many seats are on that aircraft, how many people, like, they're watching all those things. And people used to always ask, like, what's the day to go buy tickets? And it used to be Tuesday, right? The fares would drop on Monday, there'd be a fare war on Tuesday, like, that was a thing. Now it's so driven, and the systems that the airlines have, they're not tracking days, they're tracking how many seats are on the aircraft, what rate, and they know that there's probably a business traveler in our community that will pay anything to make it to that meeting, and so those last few seats are always going to be more expensive because it's well worth them waiting for that. So it is more volatile, you just have to be mindful of that and keep an eye out.
Nate, Brian Williams, I want to first give a testimonial. We just flew a round trip EVV to London, and we were able to get from Evansville to London in under less than 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Our trip back, and you do the math, where can you drive to, even if you can go direct from Chicago or wherever it might be to London, how long is it going to take you to drive there in order to do it? The return trip was maybe an hour or 2 longer, but it was from Chicago and the plane was full. So I think people are responding to your message, and we thank you for your leadership for it. My question is, the Evansville Wartime Museum is out, of course, at the airport, and tell us a little bit about how you partner with them.
Sure. Well, thank you first for the testimonial. We'd love to throw that on our website, put it on all of our social media so everyone hears that. As far as our partnership with the Wartime Museum, I mean, it goes back since its inception, from them coming to the airport and saying, hey, we have this vision of what it should look like in the future. How do we get there? We had hangar space available, and so we found a creative way to get them into that space. They've now expanded, right? Their original, they had no aircraft, and now they do. They've added tanks. And so for us, it's always about, it's a question earlier, like how do we find those partnerships? Sometimes they find us, right? There was no reason for the Wartime Museum at the time to be at the airport, but we had people in our community that knew the airport, knew that we want to be an active partner of the community, and it starts there, and started those conversations. I look forward to a time where they can continue to add aircraft and continue to expand, and I'd love to build them a whole new campus over there, but ultimately it is a partnership, right? How do we best serve this community? And sometimes we forget that part, right? I have that conversation with staff. I have it even with our airline partners in TSA. Like, right, we are 100% here for this community and the passengers flying out. And so everything we do, and I mean everything we do, should have that focus. And if it takes an extra minute to do something, or if you need to hand walk someone across the terminal building to get them to the right place, or go back and check for a bag, or whatever it may be, like, we're here for the passengers, we're here for the community. And I think the Wartime Museum is just a good example of the right time for them. We became the right place, and it's been obviously a good partnership. And quite honestly, at this point, they're pretty self-sufficient, which is wonderful as well.
Nate, in the last 50 years, I've heard a lot of presentations on the airport, and this was hands down the best. Very well done, very useful. One other observation only, is I've flown through a lot of airports, and even the TSA, I don't know if you have any control over them, they're kind, they're nice. On my way back, a lot of times from airports, they're not so nice, and I feel like somebody from ICE is going to pounce on me. Not that way in Evansville, so whatever input you had on that, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you for about the presentation. So officially, we do not, right? TSA is a federal agency. We do not have oversight, but it is working together. So Kyle, the TSA manager here locally, meets with us on a regular basis. When we do things like when we launched For Everyone and opened up Sunflower, like, he was a proponent of making sure that his people went through it. So, right, it wasn't just, I often talk about airport authority, and I talk about EVV. And when I talk about EVV, I mean everybody. I mean every TSA agent, I mean every airline, I mean the rental car, like everyone that works at EVV, from United Companies Air Center to our friends in the air traffic control tower that we hope we never see, right? Like, all those people. And I think, again, keeping that passenger focus, I think leadership of each of those, each airline, TSA, like, their leadership and their buying into our vision of passenger experience and that passenger matters most, it does make a difference. And it trickles down, right, to their entire team. And so I'm glad to hear that. I also have similar experiences. So I'm glad to hear that about TSA. Thank you.
Great job that you're doing out there, your crew. So I want to ask you, I was out of town last weekend, but I saw on the news that a commercial jet had to make an emergency landing out there at the airport. Could you comment on that or walk us through what happened?
I try to avoid speculating on that sort of stuff. But yes, from time to time, there are aircraft that have emergencies, whether it be a private aircraft or corporate or an air carrier aircraft. We have a great relationship with EPD and EFD and AMR and all of our partner agencies. We actually invite them out. Annually, we're required to have some training. We invite them out for part of our training now, which is something that we started maybe a decade ago or a little about that. So trying to create those partnerships to make sure that everyone's well aware. But in those situations, you hear, if you watch Evansville Watch, right, you know exactly what happened, right? So there's emergency, our team responds, and as part of that response is we call all of our friends, and everyone starts coming. Most of those times, like, it becomes nothing. The aircraft lands, everyone hangs out for a few hours, and then they fly home. So we're fortunate that that's what happened. But I'm grateful for the partnerships we have with EPD and EFD and, you know, suburban fire and our sheriff's department and state police, and just like everyone really does come together as a just in case something else would happen.
Hey Nate, Bill Thebe. You know, I have had a lot of people fly in over the years. We pick them up. They are absolutely dumbfounded how quickly they can move in and out of the airport. They're equally impressed that, and I'm assuming you still do this, that there is free parking in the parking lot for a couple hours or whatever, and that we just go in, get them, walk out, get in the car and drive off. They, you know, coming from Raleigh, you know, and Dallas and places like this, it's unheard of. So congratulations. I did have one experience where a guy from Mobile was concerned about the 3-hour, you know, you hear about getting through TSA, and he kept saying, Bill, we got to get to the airport. We got to get to the airport. I said, no, you don't. we got there about, he insisted, so we got there about 2.5 hours. He looked at the TSA line and there wasn't anybody in it. So it is a great place to fly in and out of.
Thank you. Yes, so TSA opens about 2 hours before the first flight. So if your flight's at 5:30, don't show up before 3:30. Like, no one will be there. You'll see one of my guys wandering around, letting you in and answering your questions about why TSA still isn't there. But thank you for that. Yes, we still have free parking for the first few hours. And really, that was also, it was both, right? Yes, it's great for passengers. It was also a way to help our team. We had a huge congestion problem at the front of the curve of the terminal, quite honestly, because everyone was, it's Evansville, right? Oh, I'm just gonna park my car. And the first person that gets double parked and then is stuck and can't get out, you know, leaves a voicemail for me. And so able to have our people to help them get into the parking lot, that was a good long-term move to help that transition.
Well, thank you, Nate. I think I can speak for everyone when I encourage you to fly EVV first, and thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.